Okay. So I would say the first thing that you have to do to make sure that you're staying in alignment is always being in a mode of study. Okay. Always being humble and humble enough to know that you always have more to learn. And also just be humbled by the presence of source and seeing source in all of your life. I think that also keeps your ego in check. Always be seeking community and have this idea of the organism always in mind.
Welcome to the Conscious Leadership Podcast, where soulful entrepreneurship and holistic mind-body wellness meet to help you heal, discover your soul's purpose, and change the world. I'm your host, Gabby Ortega, entrepreneur, psychology expert, social media maven, and soulful leadership coach. And it's my mission to empower you into becoming the light leader you're meant to be. Each episode will be diving deep into topics that will help you gain personal mastery over your healing and mind-body wellness, while also giving you practical tips and tools to help you create, market, and scale a heart-centered business around your soul's purpose and life mission. Whether you're in the beginning of your self-awakening journey or a seasoned inner work god or goddess who's ready to step into their leadership as a soulpreneur, this is going to be your new favorite place to be. We know that you don't just want to feel happier and more fulfilled, but you want to deeply know yourself and powerfully step into your life's purpose while creating massive abundance around your mission. That's why I've created this podcast for you, the light leader of the next generation. Welcome home. I'm so glad you're here. Hi guys, welcome back to the Conscious Leadership Podcast. I am so excited because today we have wElizabeth. She is a spiritual diviner and she is one of my good friends and actually just completed the OLA Mastermind, which is now the Ignite program. And I feel like my whole world has expanded since I've met her. You probably know her if you follow me because I post her stuff all the time. She goes by Your Spiritual Mermaid and she is indeed a spiritual mermaid. So welcome, wElizabeth, to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes. Okay. So first things first, I love to ask everybody, what makes you feel like your most light leader self?
What makes me feel like my most light leader self is owning my gift. Owning my gift and being able to use my words and use my gift to help other people, whether that be through Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, readings. I'm the happiest and the most embodied form of a light leader when I'm able to share and I feel safe enough to share. And I'm so grateful that Spirit has protected me thus far to give me that safe space to share.
Oh my God, I love that. And it's interesting because it's like I feel like you've figured out a way to really use social media to connect with everyone, like people's souls. Like every time I see one of your posts, I'm like, oh, that hit so deep. And I don't know, like it's just powerful. And it's just a testament to what we can do with social media, right? Like it can be deep, it can be spiritual, it can be fulfilling if you know where to go to find the inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's so interesting that it's gotten to this point because I don't even think that hard about what I say. It's just all from experience and it's all just random thoughts that come into my head. So I'm so happy that people are able to resonate with it at such a deep level. It makes me just so happy. It makes me feel like a light leader, like how you said.
You are. I mean, it's like you're really holding the torch and standing in your gifts. And like you said, that's how you really feel like your most light leader self. Like you're able to really shine and let your gifts speak for themselves and to not be afraid to let them through. And I think there's a lot of healers, a lot of wellness professionals who are intuitives, who are diviners, who have a connection with the spiritual realm, who have a connection with something greater, consciousness, the universe, source, whatever it might be. And they possess like powers, and I think I've felt kind of this way and really I hide a lot behind science. And you and I think have talked about this, that for me, I grew up really feeling like I was connected to the spiritual realm. I saw ghosts. I freaked my mom out a couple of times. And I but it's something that I was very, very shy about. And I was very intuitive. I could always tell what people were thinking. I would have dreams that were premonitions that would happen. Someone would say, oh, guess what? And then I'd tell them what, and it would be the thing. And it would freak people out. It was so weird. And that just was a part of me, and I never questioned it until I like started to get older and recognize, and was kind of in society, like felt like made to feel like it was weird, or there was something wrong with me, or that was like not natural, or pathologized in like the DSM as like, a crazy person. So what I did was, and this is so funny that we have this in common, that I just kind of joined the psychology realm, the science realm, because I'm realizing now as I'm in it and getting my doctoral degree now that so much of the scientific realm is spiritual. It's like we are people who are on a quest trying to find answers to things we can't explain, and we use methodology to get there, and that's science. Right? So I felt like I almost hid behind the science stuff to really try and explain what doesn't really need explaining, which are these natural gifts that so many of us have that we've been taught to not access, suppress, and to even be afraid of or push away.
I think that's so interesting too, that you bring up like being in higher education and wanting to hide away from like the spiritual aspect, when in reality both can exist in the same world.
Yes.
Like, I mean, my undergraduate degree is in integrative neuroscience. I'm getting my master's right now in biomedical sciences. So I completely understand you when you're saying like wanting to kind of separate the two and wanting to find some kind of logic. And anyone who's listening to this now, and even like to our younger selves, we just talked to them, like, it's okay to have both sides. They can both exist in the same realm, and I think it's kind of sad that it was like that for so long, but now we're moving more into a holistic approach of everything, and people are wanting to integrate more of the spiritual and the scientific, which is so beautiful.
I could not have said that better. Yes, I agree completely. It's really uplifting and makes me hopeful for the future of our development as a species, that we have people like you and I, people like the people listening, who want to join both science and spirit and take a holistic approach to the way we look at everything. Because I think that's what we're missing. We can't intellectualize our way through life. And we know that because we can't intellectualize away our feelings and our emotions. And those aren't necessarily things we see, like physical things in front of us or within us, like a disease, but they affect us nonetheless. So, it's great to be among someone who understands this and who really I'm so inspired to allow my spiritual self, my light to shine in that area more because you do. So I really thank you for allowing yourself to be seen. And if you guys are listening, let yourself be seen, even if it's stuff you can't explain. Don't hide behind science. Like, don't be shy. Like, we need all kinds of minds. We need all kinds of bodies and spirits and souls and people. So please be seen.
And you'd be surprised. Some of these people in science, I've gotten asked to do cleansing on people's offices on campus. So you'd be surprised how many people know. And especially when you're in higher education or science in general, how many people have a spiritual understanding. They don't want to say it because it goes against things, but people do. Just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been my experience too, is that there's almost this like closeted community of spiritualists within the scientific community. And that, yeah, maybe there are some people who are not like spiritual, but at the end of the day, it's a spiritual job trying to break down the universe and discover the meaning of life, right? Like, why are we here? What is quantum theory? What is astral projection? What is like the multiverse theory? What are all of these different things? They're all trying to explain why we're here. What are these things that we've experienced that don't make sense, like witnessing ghosts or spirits or hearing voices, or it's spiritual. It is. So I love that we're both here. And you said you got your master's in integrative neuroscience, and what was the other one? That's like badass.
My undergraduate degree is integrative neuroscience. I'm getting my master's right now in biomedical sciences with a concentration in neuroscience. So I actually hope to go on your path, on the doctoral path.
Yes.
Yes, I'm applying in the next few months. So I'm super excited to be doing that, integrate my business with more of a scientific background to have a full holistic approach. So that's my plan.
Oh my God, it's gonna be so great. You're already so amazing. I can't even imagine like what another level would be like. That's so great. And it's so cool that you've been able to create this business around your gifts. And we'll talk about that for sure in a second. But what I really would love to dive into is maybe talk a little bit about how you became a spiritual diviner. Like, how did you know that this was what you were going to be doing, and what was your journey to getting here?
Oh, okay. So from the beginning, like when I was growing up, honestly, I could remember vividly when I was in elementary school questioning the Bible and things like that, asking questions, not saying that I didn't believe in anything, but I was always questioning things. And I think I was like that because my mom always questioned things as well. So when I was in middle school, she started to transition us to Buddhist temple instead of going to Catholic church every weekend. So we went to Buddhist temple every week. We meditated with the monks. They would come around with the meditation stick and straighten our backs and things.
Straight, snappy in the back, like sit up straight. Yeah.
It was more disciplined. Yeah, it was a more disciplined approach. And I'm so grateful that I had that experience. So I grew up doing that. I grew up every summer we do meditation retreats where we weren't allowed to bring our phones and we just basically meditate all day. We do walking meditation, sitting meditations, laying down, everything. And so I've always been in a spiritual home stage, and all these other like spiritual healing tools have always been part of my life. But then when I was towards the end of my undergraduate career, I went through a really trying time where basically spirit broke me down, and spirit had me look in the mirror and ask myself, what was I doing? You know, who was I becoming? I was developing a lot of bad habits. I was developing a lot of addictions. And it was to a point where I just had to break it down, just break it all down. And the first thing that I started doing to build myself up was I would do these sticky notes with gratitude, what I was grateful for. And I would put them all over my walls in my room, and I would start with these gratitude exercises. And then, of course, me wanting to do more meditation and things, I was on YouTube, and some way or another, I was led to a video about a specific energy cleansing routine or a ritual. And from there, I just started getting more and more interested. And then for a couple months, I really studied. I studied all the books. I studied a whole bunch of different videos. I studied a whole bunch of different concepts. And I started to really dive into spirituality like head first. And then about a couple months, probably like a year after I was doing my studying, one day something was just in my head, like, oh, what are these cards I see people using? Like, what are these like angel cards? Like, what is this? And so I went on live one day and I was asking people, what do y'all suggest I get? Like, what is this? What do y'all have? Just asking questions. And then when I bought the deck, I went on live again and I was like, this is so amazing. Like, I want to like do this for other people. Like, I have this strong feeling of wanting to do this for other people. And so I sat on live and did free readings for about like 3.5 hours straight with my followers.
Wow.
And yeah, it was intense. And I found that when I was doing the readings, I would see the cards, and they're super basic angel cards. And it's so funny because I bought these cards for $10 and now they're no longer made. So they're like worth like $500, something like that. It's crazy.
Oh my God, they were meant for you.
Yeah, no, I truly believe that. And so when I would look at these cards, it'd be very basic, like, oh, eat healthier or do this. But when I would look at it, I was getting like almost like a different stream of consciousness coming into the forefront of my mind of you need to eat, like it would be the card of eat healthy, and it would be like, I would hear like you need to eat healthier because this is what's going on with your body and this is what you've been doing lately. And it was like when I would say that, it would be completely aligned with what the person was experiencing, very detailed like readings. And so I kept doing readings. I kept doing donation-based readings for a couple months. I would be on an hour reading for like $5, and I was just doing it because I loved it, and I was honestly just amazed about what was coming out. I was surprising myself. And, you know, after I was really doing my ancestral work, I was really working with my spirit guides, and there came a point where my spirit guides are like, listen, why are you charging $5 for what you're giving? it was a point where it's like, they're like, we need your energetic exchange to be more equal with what you're doing. So then I would decide to get a website. I decided to build a business so I can really organize things and keep my spirit guides happy, so I'm not overextending myself. And it just has blossomed from there. And it's been such a beautiful experience. About a year ago as well, I started diving into African traditional religion, and that has changed my entire life.
Oh, wow. That's so beautiful. I don't know much about African spiritual religion. Could you tell us a bit about, I mean, obviously you can't like learn everything right now, but like maybe some highlights.
Yes, of course. So the basis of a lot of African traditional religions, as well as a lot of Asian and a lot of other religions, is ancestor veneration. So the belief that your elevated spiritual guides who were within your ancestral line, doesn't just have to be the people who you knew. These are people from thousands of years ago, are helping you in this lifetime. So you start by building an altar. You start by, facilitating that connection, and you just go up from there. And then you allow them to guide you into a specific sect that is for you. Now, there's a whole bunch of different African traditional religions. There's Ifa, there's Isheshe, there's Santeria, there's so many that I can't even, describe right now. But
that's amazing. I had no idea.
Yeah, so it's really the preservation of thousands of years of tradition, ancient religious tradition, based out of Africa. Of course, with the diaspora and slavery, these things were brought to Brazil, Cuba, Trinidad, where my family is from. And basically just finding what's right for you. But first, starting off with that ancestral veneration, honoring the people who came before you, and going from there.
Wow, that's okay. So I'm having like a really big aha moment. Yeah. So I believe one of my aunts is a Santeria. And for those of you who know me, I'm Cuban. And so that's interesting because I've always, I've practiced, not always, but more recently as I've developed my own spirituality, naturally gravitating towards this type of spirituality. I didn't realize that this is actually like where it comes from. Like it's in my DNA. Like that's actually, no wonder it comes naturally.
Yes.
That's so crazy. I'm having like such a moment right now. Wow, that makes so much sense. Okay, so thank you for that.
Yes, that is in your DNA, and you cannot ignore it. They will call you for the rest of your life until you pick up the phone. Okay. So.
They slapped me around. Let me tell you, like my mid-20s and my early 20s, they were trying to communicate with me, and I would not listen. And like they put me through the ringer, and I was like, why is this happening to me? The minute I started kind of practicing more listening to my ancestors, honoring my lineage, like tapping into that blood ancestry and that spirituality and the traditional different elements of worship and communication with them, like I can't tell you, I listen, I follow the signs, and everything works out. I'm like, okay, all right, I hear you, I see you, I can't explain it. I mean, I come from the science realm, you do too, and I have to be totally honest, I can't explain it. But I do, when I take that perspective, everything falls into place and it makes sense for me personally. So that's awesome. That's so cool that you were able to frame that. Thank you.
Problem. I love it. I love spirituality so much. So I'm so happy to talk about it.
Yes. Okay. So cool. So you are someone who has this beautiful natural gift. Is it just you and your family who does this, or do you also have people in your family who practice?
So, from what I know, I am the only one in my family who does this as a business. But when I was growing up, even though people do not like to admit, there's a lot of spiritual customs in the Caribbean. There's a lot of spiritual customs, I'm sure you know, with Cuban, that people just incorporate into their lives. So I grew up knowing how many kids I was going to have because my grandma figured it out on my palm. Like, there was always a heavy belief in ghosts and spirits in my house, on both sides of my family. Even on my mom's side, which my mom is white and Native American, my grandmother always collected statues of the archangels. So when I started becoming more spiritual, I was really studying the archangels very, very heavily. So even though I'm not I'm the only person who I know of right now who does this kind of work professionally, we are spiritual beings naturally. So especially if you're drawn to these things, you know, it's gonna find your way into your life one way or another. So, but
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Oh,
I'm
wow.
super grateful for the household that I'm in. I'm super grateful for my mom, who's super supportive of my business. I'm super grateful for my family, my dad. I'm just very grateful.
Yeah, mom. Yeah, dad. I love when family's supportive. That's a gift for sure. And wow, to be the only person kind of like really stepping into this space in your immediate like family, and to be claiming it is powerful. And you're young too. How old are you?
I am 24.
24. So guys, like, it doesn't matter what age you are. It's never too early to claim your power, your gifts, what you feel called to do on this planet. The faster you make peace with that, what your calling is, and why you're here, the quicker things are going to feel good and come into alignment. It's when we try to fit ourselves into a square box and we're like round and we don't fit that we have a lot of problems. And unfortunately, society has really conditioned us to only see one type of human being, one type of person and that's what's successful, or that's what we should be, and that's quote unquote normal that we should, and that's bullshit. So so the minute that you guys, you decide this for yourself. This is like, no one can tell you to do this, but the minute that you decide to do this inner work, to self-awaken, to discover why you're here, to really claim your power, the faster shit's going to get easier. I promise.
Oh, trust and believe. And I also want to say too that finding your purpose is a feeling. Like how you said, boxing yourself in is never is going to work. What you want to do is you want to figure out what is the feeling that makes you feel alive. For me, it's healing, right? Now, healing doesn't have to be exactly what I'm doing. Healing can be teaching. It can be food. It can be growing a vegetable. It can be anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people really get it wrong when they come and they ask what their purpose is and they expect to have a career. You know, when I'm in readings and people ask that, Spirit will sometimes say, you need to just work with water. Now, that can be something where you work for a sustainable water producing, so something with, something environmental, something like that. Now, Spirit does not see, oh, you're going to be a police officer or you're going to be a specific job. Spirit sees the work that you're going to be doing. So when you do that inner work, and when you figure out what the feeling is that makes you feel alive, that is where you can find your purpose.
Yes, somebody quote that. Yes. No, it's so true. And it's interesting because I, for so long, was doing the thing of like, okay, these are the things I need to be doing to like have a life that's worthy and successful, and people are going to approve of me, and it's all going to look really good on paper. And yeah, the minute that I allowed myself to actually pause and tap into like, what is the feeling I want? All of a sudden, like my whole world expanded. And it was like like the visual that comes to mind, because I'm very visual, is I'm standing in a really small, tiny apartment with like very low ceilings and very sparse furniture and nothing. And all of a sudden, all the walls fall down and the ceiling blows up. And all of a sudden, I'm in this huge, expansive, sunny, warm, bright field that goes on for miles and miles, and it just looks and feels like pleasure. And that is what it felt like when I shifted. And it wasn't anything, it was actually, I think, because I started meditating. I started really focusing on the feelings, right? Like and I think you mentioned you started to meditate, and that was part of your awakening as well, and the Buddhist practice. But yeah, it's very much an expander. And giving yourself that space to say, okay, like, how can I remove myself from the belief that I have to fit into this box? And how can I think about and cultivate more of and invite in more of the feelings that make me feel alive?
And just like what you said about things not going right until you align yourself, I feel like that's a big reason why people come and ask what their purpose is, because things aren't going right. And the thing is, God will show you the right way, but you have to walk in the right way. You cannot just be shown the road. You have to use your energy to move along the road. But as soon as you do that, as soon as you do that, things will open up for you in ways you will not be able to even comprehend. And I think that's so beautiful how you said the thing about just expansion, because at the very beginning of my spiritual practice, with my reawakening, I had this super clear vision of sitting on a beach or standing at a beach in LA, and Spirit was like, this is what you're gonna be doing. And I was like, I don't even like LA. Why? I lived in New York for a while. So I'm like, but when you start to really walk in your purpose, things will expand in such a way that you really, it's going to be crazy. But you have to find that feeling first. And you cannot limit yourself in a box. You cannot look to someone else on the side or behind or in front, because your life is your path. Your path is your path, and no one can take that away from you. There might be roadblocks in the path, but no one is going to just pull the path off the road. Okay? Roads don't go anywhere. So, hear about that.
Yes. Write that down, guys. Take down that note. The road doesn't go anywhere. And it's, you know, it brings to mind the idea that there's so much competition within the wellness world, right? The entrepreneurial space, this kind of, especially amongst women who are healers or practitioners of some kind of healing practice. And there's room for everybody. Everybody has their own road. You're so unique. No one has lived your life. No one has the lens of your experience. No one's walked in your shoes. Like, so what you have to offer is not your education, although that's part of it, or, you know, your skills that you've developed. It's you. It's who you are at your essence. And like you said, you know, so beautifully, like, you have to walk the path. Like, you have to be willing to do the deep work, the painful work, the shadow work, unearthing who you are underneath all of the conditioning that you've received from the time you were an infant and before. You know, even in utero, you're getting, you know, messages sent to you based on what you're hearing. They have, you know, research has shown that babies can hear in utero what you're saying, what you're talking about. They register it. Their brains are developing, and it all begins, you know, a long while back. So give yourself permission to explore and to dig and to do this work, because Spirit, Source, God, whoever it is, they're not going to do the work for you. They're going to show you, like you said, they're going to point you in the right direction, but ultimately, the only thing that will move the needle forward is you choosing to take that path and to just say, okay, this is like, I'm locking and loading and I'm going to hold on and this will be okay. I'm going to be okay.
Exactly. And things will, as long as you're not living in alignment, things will always feel misaligned until you get into that alignment. So that's why meditation is so important. That's why your inner work is so important, to really figure out what makes you you. And then when you come into a space of maybe competition, maybe you're ready to build a business, maybe you're ready to lead other people, and you look around and you're like, well, who's going to listen to me? That's when those inner works and those inner conflicts and things that you work through are so important to bring up, because it helps you realize that no one can tell your story like you, and your story and the way that you tell it and your perspective is going to be what relates other people to you and draws people to your light.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. And that's such a practical, you know, tip for as well for people who are just getting started. Like, let yourself shine. Don't try to present yourself as something that you think other people are going to like appreciate or like or value. Stand in your own unique story and your experience. I think I just did a post today about this too, talking about how the way you start your community and you gain your followers and your audience and you grow your business is not by hiding behind a facade of what you think you need to become. That's actually how you run your business right into the ground. The fastest way, one of them. The way you attract really, really strong soulmate clients, great large audience numbers, is really knowing who the fuck you are and doing that work of like walking that dark path if you're a healer for yourself, really looking at the skeletons in your closet, and doing all of that work so that you can then really in your integrity guide others. Yeah, but we can't do that, ethically, if we don't do it ourselves, and I talk about this a lot, but yeah, do that work and give yourself a gift, because on the other side of that is just such a tremendous freedom. I can't even tell you guys. It's awesome.
Yeah. And also, I just want to say one thing to that. The work never stops for anyone who's doing the work.
True.
You think you will get to the end of the finish line and spirit is like, okay, let's run another lap. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to just be always open to learning, always open to divine guidance, and be humble. Doesn't matter how amazing you're gifted. Doesn't matter any of that. You always have to be humble and understand what your purpose is, and your purpose is so much bigger than you, but you are unique, and you need to be facilitating this purpose.
Yes, the power is in your hands. I love that. It made me laugh a little bit. It made me think of like all the different system upgrades to like your iPhone. It's like every time you think you've upgraded it, they send you a new one. And that's exactly what it feels like every time I like feel like I've reached like the end of this like healing journey. I've learned so much. I'm so awakened and I know things. And then it just like I get dropped on my ass again, and it's another layer to work on. And it's beautiful. It's painful, but I found such peace in really not turning away from any of it. Like it actually caused way more anxiety and pain to look away from the work than it did to actually just fucking own it and dive in,
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So is there anything that I know you've been doing like these amazing live readings on Instagram. I caught one the other day. It was just so cool to see you in your flow, in your element. Is there anything like that you've noticed, any trends, any things that have come up recently that have been interesting in these like live sessions? I've never seen anybody really do that before. And it just seems like such an incredible experience, and your audience, like the way they respond, it's like, they're just like floored. They're like, oh my God, this is so exactly what I need to hear. This is, things. How do you know these things? So yeah, are you seeing any trends with like, everything that's been happening with everybody's spiritual awakenings, or like questions that seem to be asked a lot, or anything like that?
So I would say in general, when my clients, like month to month, the wave of clients that come in usually will have a lot of the same problems that they're looking for, or looking for answers for. So there's always trends. But as far as like on a global scale, I think that there's definitely a trend or like a new energy coming about. There's definitely an opening of the heart chakra right now of the planet. I 100% believe, 100%. And a lot of people are tired of living the same cycles and living in the same paradigms that they have before. And that's why with things like the protests and Black Lives Matter and things like that, we're seeing not just, Black people going out there and protesting. We're seeing people of all races, of all colors, and really taking a stand on stopping these same toxic cycles. So I think as a community in the world, we are really trying to evolve. And a lot of people get upset kind of about spirituality being trendy and I'm not one of those people who does that, because I understand that this is a tool to help navigate this energy that we're all collectively experiencing. I think people forget a lot of the times that we are one organism. We are not just these individual people. Granted, we do have individual lives, but I truly believe that we are one collective organism living on an organism. Okay, so when we see things like the protests and things like that, we feel them on a different level. We have empathy for people because that is actually happening, realistically to us, because we are all one. So the trend that I'm really seeing now is this awakening of empathy, this awakening of compassion, this new understanding of that we're one organism, and the heart chakra is opening. Now, because the heart chakra is opening, I believe that the other chakras are opening as well for our planet, and we're getting a lot of more downloads. And that could be in the form of people wanting to seek out more spiritual guidance, people wanting to become more spiritual, and I'm not mad at that at all. All you need to do, as one word of caution, is study and use your own discernment and do your own work. That's the major thing here. Okay, because we don't want to be led by anyone who may have ill intentions or just want your money or things like that. We need to really be able to do our own work, and who you're meant to align with when it comes to evolving in your spiritual journey, you will naturally align with. And I know that this is kind of anti-business model, but I honestly have a model of not ever advertising my services. Because
and you don't need to. You literally sell out every single time. You guys, it's like we talk about like launching without launching and like not being this girl does not sell. She just like lets people know, hey, I have it, and it's gone in like a few hours.
Yeah, because that's what happens when you're aligning with your purpose, you know, honestly. But I have a belief, especially with my readings, because my readings are very in depth. If you're meant to find me, you will find me, and the people who find me stick with me. I've had people for clients who I've worked with for years, you know, and it's like, I don't like to advertise because I know that I'm in alignment, and I know that spirit will bring me exactly who needs to hear what I have to say. So that would be the trend, just going back, is this opening of the heart chakra, also opening of the crown chakra. So this new information, these divine downloads, and this new sense of compassion and empathy for other people. So that's what I would say.
Just a little off the top, just a little comment off the top of your head. Yeah, it's so fucking awesome. Oh man, I am loving this. So yeah, I think I can totally relate to that. I totally see the same things. It makes me really hopeful. It makes me hopeful. It makes it, you know, but at the same time, on the other side of the coin is that it's exposed so much pain, that there's just tremendous pain in this world, and a lot of people acting out of their pain or out of their fear, and that we have to really, it's a call to ascension. It's a call to transcend our, you know, biology, the way that our evolutionary brains are, and to really connect with the next level and understand that we are one living, breathing organism. There's a really interesting, I forget exactly what the study was, but Dr. Daniel Siegel, who I'm like a huge fan of, he did this thing or talked about in one of his workshops I went to. I'm not sure if he conducted the study or if it was someone else. I'll find it, and hopefully be able to drop in the show notes for you guys. But essentially, people who had, I believe, been in each other's physical space had exchanged some atomic particles of some kind. So like then they did some tests later on, like I guess if you're in the physical presence of someone, you guys like exchange some kind of, there's a chemical exchange that happens between you two that you can't see. And then when you separate, you have essentially a piece of them inside of your cells. And they've done these studies where they were people on opposite ends of the earth who had moved far apart, and one would be experiencing, let's say, a tremendous amount of grief or pain, someone died, and the other person, so it was their grief was activated in their bodies, and they were able to measure it quantifiably, that when one person was affected all the way across the earth, that the other person who had been in their life was affected. And that's why sometimes, you know, I've had this experience where I'm like, oh, I should call my mom. And I call her and she's like having a really bad day. And she and I are very, very deeply connected. You know what I mean? So it's like, I almost know, we joke about it all the time. Like she'll call me when she feels like, you know, there's some message that she's receiving that, you know, I need to talk to her, or the energy she's receiving, or she feels like I'm distressed. Like I'll always get a phone call. So it's interesting. I do believe the study was, the context was around people who actually were very closely connected. Not just random strangers, but like very, very closely connected people who were then separated by physical space and time, but we're still having this interesting connection, like direct connection to each other's feelings and emotional states. So anyway, I will find that for you guys, but that's just, you know, another example of science and spiritualism kind of coming together. You know, understanding why is it that we're so connected to people in such an interesting and weird, sometimes surprising way, where we kind of feel like we know what they're going through, or we kind of have a sense of something that's going on with them, and we're inclined to reach out and connect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, just more from a spiritual perspective, you know, we all are spiritual beings. So that energetic exchange is bound to happen. It's bound to happen, you know, and accepting all of these like scientific, like new breakthroughs and things like that. Just know that all truths are true is what I like to say and what I believe. Everything is true at the same time.
Yeah. Yes. The great and. I like to like talk about this all the time. We like to be like this or this, but
Never.
this. It's always and. It's always
Yep.
and.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. And that's why, you know, in African spirituality, a lot of people believe that there is no good or no bad. It's all just due to perspective, because it just takes into account that everything is true. You know, like you said, and there's always another layer, like how you said, when you understand that people are speaking from trauma and things like that. And that's why lately, like with my spiritual evolution, I don't argue with people anymore, because I can feel that their perspective is not from a perspective. It is from an experience. It's from a specific time in their life, maybe even be a couple years, maybe it's in their whole life. So you're not really arguing with a perspective, you're arguing with someone's whole life. And that energy that comes behind that, you can feel it.
Yeah.
You know? So having more compassion for people, even when you disagree with them, and knowing that there is more to the story, and not writing things off as good or bad or this or that. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And just looking at it as information, you know, information. We're all here. We all have this, you know, what I do believe in reincarnation for sure, but we're here now. This is our life, right? So we got like this one particular shot in this moment for this version of things. So like, you know, the world is already really fucking shitty as it is. Let's stop being shitty to ourselves. You know, stop categorizing things as good and bad. Stop punishing ourselves, criticizing ourselves. Let's like put the stop button, push the stop button, the pause, and start thinking like, you know, it's an experiment. What's working? What's not working?
Right.
What feels aligned? What doesn't feel aligned? Start to make small adjustments. And then really fall back into the practice of trust and surrender. And that is the hardest thing to do as a human being who, like humans, love control, is to do that, to trust, surrender, and release any kind of expectations of anything.
Yep. And listen, you will get that lesson every day of your life until you are forced to surrender. So you might as well do it now.
Like hands off. The minute I surrendered to a bunch of different things that I was holding on to, I actually like everything just fucking worked out and fast. Yep. It's like the universe, whoever, they don't waste time. Like as soon as you decide, it's almost scary how fast the momentum picks up to support you in whatever decision you've made to like go on your path, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Over a year ago, I did this live, and I was talking about Bashar's teaching. I don't know if you know Bashar, but it's like a channel.
No, I don't.
Love Bashar's talk. It's a little weird. When you get past the weirdness, you can understand it's a channeled being. But he was talking about that you are going to be fully supported once you are aligned financially, emotionally, physically. All that shit will go out the window when you become fully aligned. So yes, surrender is the key. Talking to spirit, talking to source is the key, and being open to that guidance. And then the doors just completely open. They just fly.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that. I have to look into that. Bashar. I think I've heard of it. It's interesting because I do follow a little bit Abraham Hicks. And it's a little bit like that. It's what you're saying, kind of like channeling the Mm-hmm.
Same thing. Except what they're Abraham
different entities, but like
Right. Yeah. And yeah, so even if people are kind of weird about that, like listening to channel things, are you going to receive something or not? Like, you just got to take it for what it is. You know, you listen to the talk. You don't have to believe this or that. Take for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah. Love that. So I guess to kind of, I could talk about like so many things. But I don't want to, we're going to have a second recording because I have a lot of other questions, and I don't want to overwhelm our listeners, but I would love to maybe touch on, I guess, what are some ways of working on yourself as a spiritual leader so that you can fully embody what it is you want to teach and guide? Like, what do you have to do as a spiritual diviner, as a spiritual coach leader, to make sure that you're staying in alignment, to make sure that you don't get carried away by, the money or the excitement or the fame? Or, I mean, when I met you, you already had a bunch of followers on Twitter. You've exploded now. It's like on Twitter and Instagram and other platforms. I mean, so how do we, I guess, guard ourselves from the potentials of, corruption or letting our ego, I should say, run away with our mission and our soul, I guess?
Okay. So I would say the first thing that you have to do to make sure that you're staying in alignment is always being in a mode of study. Okay. Always being humble and humble enough to know that you always have more to learn. I think that's the major thing that's, from what I can see, that sets me apart a little bit. And that's also because I'm a Gemini stellium. So I love to learn. Okay. So being able to, always be in that mode of study, always reading new books, always learning about new things, even from YouTube, talks on YouTube, and taking notes and truly studying these things. I think that's one way you stay humble, and also just be humbled by the presence of Source and seeing Source in all of your life. I think that also keeps your ego in check. I spend a lot of time outside. I spend a lot of time at the park. I spend a lot of time, I live in New Orleans. So I spend a lot of time, doing nature things, and my mom lives out in the country, so I'm always out there too, and just meditating and being in awe and seeing the beauty all around you. Staying in gratitude, seeing the beauty all around you. And also, I would say the last thing that you should do to make sure that your ego is always in check is always be seeking community and have this idea of the organism always in mind. Okay, so going to spiritual events. Now, I'm grateful that I live in New Orleans, where spiritual events are on every weekend. But even online things, attending little, especially with the corona, there's plenty of online events. There's plenty of online teachings you can get into. Always be open to learn and always be in the seat of a student. Okay. And even if you're not at a spiritual event, being able to see the synchronicities and alignment in your life that are naturally spiritual, those conversations that you have with random people that give you enlightenment, even little situations where maybe it's a negative situation, you can learn something from anything. So really being in the student role and not always thinking that you're high and mighty, or you're this teacher, you're this spiritual healer. And I honestly don't even consider myself that much of a spiritual healer, because I know I have so much work to do. But I just know that my gift heals other people. So I consider myself a student, a spiritualist, a diviner, and I'm always evolving. So always wanting to evolve and knowing that there's so much more to learn will keep your ego in check.
Oh, yes, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. And that's my life philosophy, is like, I'm always going to be learning it in school. And that's what I try to teach everybody who runs through my program, because understanding that you're never going to learn everything, and you're never going to be like the be all end all of anything. Go and like remind yourself how vast the universe is and how many different things there are to consider, and learn something new every day. I recommend, if you're kind of in the beginning stages of figuring out your business as a conscious entrepreneur or spiritual entrepreneur, like taking the time to do this work. And and you'll find your path. You'll find exactly what you need to be doing and how you can channel it into a business. But it all starts with really checking your ego at the door, kind of hopping in for the ride, getting in the ring, getting dirty, getting messy, doing the work, and then committing to going back in the ring over and over and over again to learn even more and get even better. And that is also how you master your craft, and that's how you master your business, and that's how you help others even, deeper and better and more forever. So that's so cool. Thank you so much for sharing all of this knowledge with us. And I guess I do want to ask one final question, which is, you're so young and you've accomplished so much. And I know that there are listeners who are your age, who are, in college, and younger, who would love some tips on just like how to get started on this path. of, creating this business as a spiritual healer?
I would say, this is gonna sound so cliche, but I mean, meditation. I know that sounds so cliche, but
it's so true though. All roads lead back to meditation, I've learned.
listen, you need to, because it allows you, like, meditation is not just sitting in silence and no, it's not just that. It allows you to see yourself.
Yes.
It allows you to see yourself, and it allows you to see yourself for who you are, and you become a lot more aware of everything when you start meditating. So I think meditation helps you discover exactly what kind of service, what kind of contribution you're supposed to be contributing to the community. I think always start with that. And I mean, honestly, just that, as well as always being in a mode of study, source will lead you exactly where you're supposed to go. Exactly where you're supposed to go. Do not look to the left. Do not look to the right. Do not look anywhere around to try to model what you're doing off of someone else. That is where you're gonna go. You're gonna tank. Okay?
Yeah.
That's what you're going to tank. You have to really sit with yourself. You have to sit with your spirit guides. You have to sit with source and truly ask the divine, what do you want me to do in this lifetime? And I did this thing for a couple months when I was really starting my business. Is I would start my day with asking spirit, what do you need me to do today? And sometimes the answer is you need to rest. You need to be by yourself. Sometimes the answer is you need to tell your friend that she's really not, she needs to do this, she needs to do that, she needs to start the business, she needs to, So asking that question, even if you don't hear the answer will be revealed to you throughout the day, and making that a daily practice. What do you need me to do? What do you need me to do in this lifetime? Asking that every day, the divine will answer. The divine is always listening to us. The divine is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. So it's omnipresent. So when you start asking that question over and over again, things will be revealed to you. So that would be my advice with that. And also, I would honestly say with businesses and things, obviously working with someone like Gabby is fucking I don't know if I'm supposed to curse.
No, you can. I love you.
But no, I'm not even joking. This Ignite program, the mastermind program that I went through, really helped me to discover more of my leadership role, and really step into the leadership role and gain more confidence in that. And it really helped propel things forward for me. And like, I was looking back on my manifestations at the beginning of the year, and I was like, girl, you have surpassed this about 10,000 times. Let me just we need to dream bigger. So working with someone like Gabby, who helps to help you find your voice and really tailor what you're doing and find freedom in this capitalist world that we live in, I think is so important. You can't do it all by yourself. We are all one organism, and there are certain parts of the organism that is needed. Just like how the mitochondria, cytoplasm, everything is needed, we need every single part.
Yeah.
So that we need the people like you, and we need people who help light leaders move forward. And that's not
yes.
I'm just being serious.
I know. I have my own mentors. I think mentorship is huge, and it's not even just about, like you said, like with me, without me, whatever. First of all, we're in a mentorship relationship. If you're listening to this, I consider you one of my peeps, for sure. Even if I don't personally know you super well, but find the people you click with. Find the person you're really drawn to. Get that mentorship. Explore different avenues with different kinds of mentors. I'm about to dive into some plant medicine healing in the next year, and finding some shamans and people that I really want to work with, and to even deeper process trauma and work through some things and experience new things. But yeah, do your research, find some mentorship, learn, educate yourself, and trust your gifts and listen to source, And when it comes to starting a business and creating a career around your gifts, the truth is there probably isn't a career that's going to be out there that exists that you would just step right into. So if you're like, I don't even know what would I even create? Trust the path, allow things to unfold, because you're actually going to create something brand new. When I stepped into this trauma coaching space, nobody I knew was doing that. Like I Googled it, like there was maybe a couple of random people, but nobody really doing exactly what I wanted to do. And I was very nervous, and I was like, oh, well, we'll see. Either people are going to say this is really terrible, or they're going to, it's going to really work. And I knew it worked with my clients, but whether other people would buy into it, I didn't know. So trust that you are going to create something that is going to, like, you're here to be a leader. It's going to be brand new. You're going to lead other people into this way of approaching healing, approaching wellness, approaching client care. And it's granted in spirituality. And it's going to be something that looks completely unique to you. So like, it's okay if you're panicking a little bit, because you're like, well, how do I make this into a business? It will unfold. It will, reveal itself to you, your path, as you continue to educate and walk the walk and really do your own work. And just remember, put together, what are your skills / like talents? What are you good at? What have you learned? What's your education? And like, what do you think the world needs? And what lights you up? Those 4 things, make some lists, and from that, over time, it'll get really clear exactly how you want to puzzle together what it is you're here to offer the world. And again, it's completely unique to you. So find that mentor who will help pull it from you, and not someone who's going to create it for you or hand you something, because that's never going to work. But definitely someone who cultivates what already exists within you and helps you bring it into life.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, oh my God. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. We are definitely going to be having more conversations in the future. And you guys, I know you guys love her, because I get so many messages about whenever I repost your stuff. So be sure to look out for her. Where can we find you on Instagram or online? And how can we work with you if we want more?
So my website is yourspiritualmermaid.com. My Instagram is also Your Spiritual Mermaid. On Twitter, I am Aqua Spirit with 3 I's. So SPIRIIIT. On Twitter is where I'm the most active, because like how I said, I'm a Gemini, Mercury rules, so communication, especially in the word form, is how okay. So yes. So that's the way to work with me. On my website, I have readings, I have things available, but I also have a Patreon, which I love. I love my community on Patreon. There's a couple of different tiers, but we usually do full moon readings, new moon readings. I teach about herbalism. I teach it right now. I'm teaching about playing card divination. Before we did a whole series for a month long on meditation, and we went to ancestral work. So I love being in that phase. Yes.
That's
Patreon.
amazing.
Yeah, we do a lot on Patreon. We do a lot. And, it's $7 or $11 a month, depending on what tier you
$7 or $11 a month, you guys, for this incredible mentorship community. You guys, you're looking for a spiritual mentor, just go hit up Elizabeth. She has it already set up. There's classes, there's courses, there's workshops, there's readings, there's all kinds of education, and every month there's something new. I totally forgot to mention your Patreon. It's so incredible. It's so lovely. And what a way to create an affordable, accessible option for all kinds of human beings looking to get their dose of spiritual goodness.
Exactly. And I also find that a lot of people have a hard time finding community in spirituality. So I wanted to create a space where we can really be spiritual as hell, be on Zoom together, do group chats and things like that. And it's a safe space. So I love my Patreon.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's all the things that we do over here.
Yes, that's it. And she makes some really incredible oils and yoni steams, which I'm going to get my hands on real soon. So you guys, just so much friggin' awesome stuff. I will put your information in the show notes. So guys, check out the show notes. All of her stuff will be there. And for sure, go check out her Patreon and her handle at Your Spiritual Mermaid. So we will be back soon. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining me for another episode of the Conscious Leadership Podcast. I am so excited that you're here and that we are growing together. If there was anything that you took away from today's episode, I would love to hear about it. Take a screenshot, tag me with what you took away, and we will repost you. And if you are interested in leaving us a review on iTunes, we are going to give you a free copy of my Subconscious Reprogramming Workbook. It is an incredible workbook that helps you work through all of the deep programming that happened during childhood that might be holding you back in your life today. So super, super valuable. This is a $75 workbook. I am willing to just send it to you for free because I would love to hear your feedback on iTunes reviews. So shoot us a review, take a screenshot, and DM us with a screenshot of your review, and we will send you a free copy. The Light Leader community calls are also up and running. I'm so excited to be providing a completely free space for all of you guys to come connect, learn, grow, and step into your light leadership. These calls are every other Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and I will be dropping the Zoom link in my emails for my email list. So if you are not already on the email list, head on over to my page at om_therapy_coaching on Instagram and click the link in my bio to sign up for the email list. You will be on the list for all of these community calls. You can pop in whenever you'd like, ask us questions, and we'll also be providing trainings to help you do all the deep inner work to step into your leadership and also the practical stuff to help you set up a business. It's going to be amazing. So come join us for that. The first call is going to be this Thursday, August 20th, and every other Thursday moving forward. And lastly, we have the OLA Ignite program. Yes! This is going to be launching its second round 2.0 coming up September 1st. So September 1st, we're opening the doors for enrollment. And October 1st, we begin the next round. So I'm super excited. All of my light leaders who went through this round just found tremendous success, financial freedom, personal freedom, confidence, and they're just changing the world in such unique ways that are so aligned with who they are as human beings and as soul leaders that it's just amazing to watch it happen. And I'm just so excited to provide this container and support for you. There are going to be guest coaches, specific co-coaches, me, a 12-week online course, group calls twice a month, one-to-one call support, and it's just a constant hype up. So come join us. If you are a female light leader, I am calling on you to join our community. So we launch enrollment September 1st. Keep an eye out and we will keep you updated with all the latest. Thank you again for joining me. I am so happy to connect with you, and keep coming back and letting your powerful light leader shine. We love you, we see you, we need you, and we honor you.